Hello everyone, and welcome to another Top 5 Records video. Today I'm going to be talking about Mississippi John Hurt. And I guess some viewers of this channel may not have heard of him. Neither had I about a year ago. It has been for about 8 or 9 months that I bought my first Mississippi John Hurt album. Ever since, I have been listening to his work almost on a daily basis. I've fallen in love with the work of this man like I fell in love when I heard my first Pink Floyd album when I was 15. What this man does with just a guitar and his voice is of such a mesmerizing quality, such a unique sound, such a unique delivery, that none of the records I have here compares to what he has made, what he has done. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the top 5 best Mississippi John Hurt albums. And at number 5, Folk Songs and Blues by Mississippi John Hurt. This is his 1963 comeback album. A lot of people had almost forgotten the blues in the 30s and 40s because during the Depression, most of these blues record labels, they went bankrupt. Black music wasn't sold anymore. So a lot of these blues legends were forgotten, and a lot of them didn't even pick up their guitar anymore or make music. It was only during the 50s and the early 60s, during the folk and blues revival, that people started looking for Mississippi John Hurt. Now, there were some, I believe, re-releases of or mentions of some of his singles in the 50s, but in the early 60s, a blues fan discovered the Avalon blues, and which one is, by the way, included on this record, but a new, fresh recording. And on Avalon Blues, Mississippi John Hurt sings about his beloved Avalon. So that blues fan traveled to Avalon just from the notion of that song, and he went down to hunt down Mississippi John Hurt, and he found him, and he asked him to play something. And when he heard the skill of that guitar and that voice, he knew this is the guy I'm looking for. And that idea, that sense of a comeback, that sense of perhaps I wouldn't even call Mississippi John Hurt rusty because he's such an incredible talent. But um, playing and recording, it was new again to him at this point in 1963. And this comeback contains so many of his great songs like Salty Dog, the Candyman Blues, as I said, the Avalon Blues, Spike Driver Blues. This is a beautiful way to listen to Mississippi John Hurt. What I have here is sadly not a first pressing. I saw one at the record fair in the Brabant Halle a couple of months ago, but it was $150, and I bought this for 24, which is still a bargain considering how rare it is to find one, even if it's a 70s repressing, an American one. It sounds incredible. At number 5, Folk Songs and Blues. At number 4, a record that just slipped through my hands. I put it back. I wanted to buy it later on, but somebody else had bought it, so I listened to it digitally. It is the 1928 Sessions, and before you put the channel away or click this video away because these 20s recordings, how good can they sound? I mean, I like to listen to these 1928 field recordings because they got a beautiful early raw power. But audio fidelity wise, they usually are not what I hope. That's my biggest problem there because I want to get to the roots, I want to get to the core. And luckily, with Mississippi John Hurt, you can really enjoy listening to these 1928 recordings. Why? Mississippi John Hurt's style of playing is so controlled, so gentle, and his singing is not the raw, screaming blues, which I also love, but he is not whispering, he's not shy, he's not keeping it to himself, but his voice comes from deep, and he just doesn't really raise the volume. And that specific voice sounds so good on these early recordings. I think it might have to do with less dynamics in the original performance, that it's not challenging the meters of the recording equipment. But his 1928 recordings are of the best sounding quality I have heard. So you can buy that. I'm trying to buy it. And it is so pleasing because you're listening to an early Mississippi John Hurt. His parents grew up at the time after the Civil War, still on a plantation. He grew up on the plantation. He worked as a farmhand. He worked for the railroad company. And I believe a friend of his parents came over to his house and had a guitar with him. And that's how he learned to play the guitar. And he became such an incredible talent that they just had to record him for those 1928 sessions. And that record, which got released in the 70s, it is beautiful, even though I just and only heard it digitally. The moment I find one, I'll share it on this channel, that's for sure. At number 4, the 1928 sessions. Moving to number 3. The Immortal Mississippi John Hurt. Now, this one was released right away after his death, about a year after he had passed away. And let me first take a moment to look at the gorgeous artwork. I think there's so much going on this record, and I was so happy to find it because I got into Mississippi John Hurt because I'm basically checking out lists with blues artists. I want to listen to blues artists who know of the early 20th century, who have the raw, direct voice, a real sound. That's why I'm basically avoiding people like Joe Bonamassa or Eric Clapton. Not as a whole, I'm not avoiding Eric Clapton as a whole, but for me, the essence of the blues goes deep into the American culture and roots. That is something you can find on this record. I bought a first American pressing at the record fair some months ago, and it's gorgeous. This is one of the 3 records Mississippi John Hurt did for Vanguard, and you got versions of a song like Since I've Laid My Burden Down, which is so good, Moanin' the Blues, Monday Morning Blues, Keep on Knocking, and Nearer, My God, to Thee. And also, this contains a beautiful version of Stagger Lee, which is written here like Stag O Lee, and Stagger Lee is one of those big blues stories, basically. And a lot of blues musicians have their own interpretation of the story of Stagger Lee, a man that during, I believe, even a political discussion or fight, killed his opponent in a bar. But he shot him with a gun. And there are so many different versions. You might know the Nick Cave version, which is also really, really good. Mississippi John Hurt's got his own way of telling that story. At number 3, the Immortal Mississippi John Hurt. At number 2, my first Mississippi John Hurt album, The Last Sessions. And I found this in Münster, and I believe it was September or October, around that time, in Münster in Germany. The last place I would imagine to find a Mississippi John Hurt album. I didn't find him in New York. I didn't find him in San Francisco. I found him in Münster, in near mint condition, for $20, a first American pressing. Though this pressing is not as old as the other ones, because The Last Sessions was released in 1972. So about 6 years after his death. Now, what happened, and why is specifically this record so emotional for me? I found it. I bought it not knowing what to expect. I went to my parents, who live in Germany, with a friend of mine, and my parents lived in this wooden cabin in the woods. And they have my old Marantz receiver. And through that old Marantz receiver, in this wooden cabin, where the dry acoustic of the wood reflected, or lack of reflected, this record the moment that guitar went through the wooden room in the woods, magic happened. I was just struck by lightning, but a very soft lightning, because he's so gentle. And you can hear that in every inch of what he's doing here. You got so many incredible songs. I mean, Poor Boy, Long Way from Home, Boys You're Welcome, the Joe Turner Blues, um, Trouble I've Had All My Days, Good Morning Carrie, Nobody Cares for Me. Highlight of this record, and that is one of the musical highlights of the last year, or of the last years for me, is You've Got to Die. Just when you get ready, you've got to die. Um, I believe it wasn't written by him. I believe it was written by Blind Lemon Jefferson. And I tried to play it on guitar yesterday, and the chord structure is so incredibly simple. I'm sweating all over my glasses. The chord structure is so incredibly simple. Uh, I did not hear that because it sounded so complex, and trying to play it, it is complex. There are so many dynamics in his finger picking. It's just bizarre. I just laid down a guitar. I couldn't even come close to anything that it sounded like the way he did, and also the moment in time. He recorded this album in February and July in a hotel in New York. So you might think sound quality, hotel. It's incredible. It was recorded so up close, so audiophile, beautiful. And then the song's lyric is something of the way I like just when you get ready, you've got to die. Just when you get ready, you got to die. And he was rediscovered for about 3 years, but he noticed he was getting older. So the lyric is so personal in that way. Just when you get ready, you got to die. And ever since I discovered this, this is something I play regularly when a friend of mine comes over, and I have once a week an evening where a friend or multiple friends come over for Belgian beer, French cheese, good vinyl. And near the end of the evening, when I get more sentimental, I just have to listen to Just When You Get Ready, You Gotta Die. It's one of those brilliant goodbye songs. I think I might play it. I think I'll put it on my funeral list. That's the song you want to go down with. So good. At number 2, Last Sessions. Number 1, how can anything top that? Well, honestly, we are in 5-star territory with the last 3 records. And all those records are his Vanguard records. At number 1, Mississippi John Hurt. Today. This is relatively new in my collection. I bought this one together with the Immortal Mississippi John Hurt at the record fair in the Brabanthalle. When I saw it, I just shrieked because it's still in foil, it's still sealed. The label is from about 1966 until later on, so this may be a first pressing because they're not talking about any later pressings on Discogs than 1966. So it may be a label variation from 1966, or it's a little bit older. Stampers are original, and it sounds so up close. I mean, this record is one of the most beautiful, sincere, direct, and unique recordings in music history. There's magic in these grooves, there's magic in the fingers, and you're getting so close and personal with such a fascinating man, such a fascinating human being. Opening with Payday, which is great, and I'm Satisfied, and Candyman, one of his great songs. Candyman, make me a pallet on the floor. Hot time in the old town tonight. If you don't want me, baby. Spike Driver's Blues. Oh, I mean, when you put this on, you can't put it off. And if I haven't listened to this on vinyl on a day, or if I'm not ending the day with this on vinyl, then I'm listening to it while traveling on the road. It makes so much sense. I really, really love this album. So I'm curious, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.